Welcome to episode 2 of Highence, a show where me, not an expert, just a guy who likes to learn, smokes weed and talks about science. Today we're talking about quantum entanglement. The fuck is that?
Oh my god, science is so intense, it's Highence.
Quantum entanglement. Here's the thing. I did a story on my Instagram asking people, what other topics would you like me to talk about? I did black holes, what other stuff? And one of the only few people who give a shit about science asked me to talk about quantum entanglement. I don't know what the fuck that is. Or I didn't, rather. I spent the last month learning about it, researching it, which is the thing about quantum entanglement is it takes place in the quantum world. Last episode, I talked about the big picture, I talked about space. This is going the opposite end of the spectrum, where instead of talking about big things, we're talking about very, very small things. Because the quantum world is, it's so fucked up. It's such a weird world. Why is it weird? The physics in the quantum world are just completely different. So this ashtray, this beanbag ash, who made this? If I throw it up in the air, what do you think's gonna happen? It comes down and I struggle to grab it. The reason we know that is because that's the physics we're used to. Things go up, they come back down. And Dan sucks at sports. But in the quantum realm, the physics get a little bit funky. In the small world, let's call it the small world. In the quantum realm, this is where we start dealing with atoms. And even smaller than the atom, we're talking about the electrons that go around the atom, the neutrons, the positrons, what other kind of trons are there? Are there other kind of trons? There's other neutrons, photons, electrons. There's Tron the game. Now it's a movie franchise. There's other trons. Or there's not. It's one of those two options. So it deals with electrons. It deals with the other ones. In the quantum realm, there's something called spin within atoms, okay? So when we observe an atom, we can see the electrons spinning around it. It either spins around going up or it spins around going down. Those are the two terms. I mean, I guess you could also say it goes right or left. These fucking scientists, they're not creative. It goes up, it goes down. I have a PhD. So they're either spinning up or they're spinning down. Now, quantum entanglement is very interesting and involves a lot of math. So this is kind of the dumbed down version. In the quantum realm, two atoms can become entangled. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if they are entangled, one will be spinning up and the other one will be spinning down. It will be doing the opposite thing of what it's doing. Why does it do that? Because it wants a fucking friend. Who can't relate to that? Why does it do it? I don't know. And that's not me giving a bad answer. The quantum realm is something that science doesn't have a lot of answers for. It's very hard to study because it's so small. But the quantum realm also deals with things smaller than electrons. It goes down to what's called the Planck Length, which is the smallest length there is. And I think, if I remember what I read correctly, if a Planck length were to be the size of an atom would be the size of the Earth. Real fucking small. It's almost as if we can go infinitely up and infinitely down. The Planck length is essentially the small version of the observable universe. How come you couldn't do half of a Planck length? Couldn't things ultimately go smaller and smaller if you're like, well, just half it? Just take it, just cut it in half. That's another video. I'll look into it if anyone's interested. Yeah, Dan, I would really like to know more about Planck length. Fucking nerd. making fun of the maybe people that watch these. Thank you for watching. You're a nerd. You and me both, baby. So quantum entanglement. Let's get back to that. So one spinning down, one spinning up, and they get entangled. Why? We don't know why. We're still trying to figure that out. But what's interesting about that is that if you were to figure out what one is, we observe that this atom's spin is going up. That means instantly we know that this one that it's entangled with is going to be spinning down because they always do the opposite of each other. Is that right? I think that's right. So what's interesting about that and what could potentially lead us to communicating better if we were to become a galactic species is maybe lying in quantum entanglement, because it takes light from the sun to the Earth about 8 minutes. And the light from Earth to the Mars, where maybe we'll colonize next, it takes, pull a number out of my ass, 3 minutes. Correction here. That's the speed of light, which is the fastest speed we have, maybe. Potentially, at the quantum level, information can move faster than light, and this is where quantum entanglement gets interesting, okay? So, that was so aggressive, I didn't mean to, okay. If, say, we are a galactic spacefaring race, one day in the future, you're family lives 1 light year away. You could call them and leave a message being like, hey, I miss you, and then it would take a year, if it was traveling the speed of light, for that message, that voice, that information to get to them. But with quantum entanglement, maybe we could figure out a way to make that shorter, because as I said, we look at this atom and we see that the spin is up, so that means instantly we know that the spin of this one is down, and that doesn't matter where those atoms are. That atom could be right beside each other and we get the information immediately, or that atom could be entangled with another atom literally on opposite sides of the universe. Now, why is that cool? Because to get across the observable universe, it takes light billions of years. But if we observe on one side of the universe that this atom is spinning up, we have the information that this one is spinning down. Information just traveled across billions of light years instantly, which is huge. And you know, you could use it in other examples too. Why do we give a shit about these atoms? We don't. So I'm sure someone does. I'm sure you've heard of the Schrödinger's cat experiment, which is a weird example because not a lot of people know that Schrödinger's cat was invented by the man Schrödinger. It was like Cher. He had a first name, I just don't remember it. But he was talking with Albert Einstein, talking about quantum entanglement and the quantum world, and he came up with the Schrödinger's cat analogy, which is that if you were to take a cat like that one and put it in a box with something that could kill it, whether that's a bomb that may or may not go off, like 50% chance could go off, or poison that could be released while the box is closed, we don't know if the cat has been killed or not. So it lives within this what's called a superposition of being both alive and dead, which he came up with that because he's like, obviously the cat can't be alive and dead at the same time. But then everyone's like, oh, he's brilliant. The cat is alive and dead. I walked past my ex-girlfriend's house. I saw her light was on, and she was in a superposition of both fucking someone else and not. That's Schrödinger's ex. So if an atom has an upspin and the other atom it's entangled with has a downspin, but we haven't observed either of them, they're in a superposition with each other, which means whatever one's doing, the opposite's doing. I think that's essentially what it's all about. The practice of transferring information faster than light. We've never seen anything travel faster, but somehow information does, even though it's not like a physical thing, like a proton or other trons. Is that a callback? No, it's not, because I'm just confused. I can't just not know something and then later still not know it and be like, it's a callback. See that? That's a callback of me not reading. Remember how I didn't read back then? Still don't read. Callback. That's essentially the idea. Information can travel faster than light. We know that is true. Now we just need to figure out how to utilize that technology in our own quantum computing and such that we can make information travel faster than light. Do we need that right now? Probably not. Why are we focusing on it? Because it's a lot of stuff to figure out. It's gonna take a while. Why not start now? That was the pitch when they asked for a grant. We might need it one day. Think about that. Money. I gotta say though, aside from having to learn really hard math, which by the way, I was horrible in school. I was a straight D student, especially in math and science. But school systems just don't necessarily know how to teach why the information is good as much as they're good at teaching how to memorize information for a test that you'll forget about. Ooh, am I getting political? Ooh. That being said, the math that I had to learn for quantum entanglement was very hard, but if I were to make one really cool personal discovery, it's that math is not as hard as people think it is. And when you figure out how to learn it, figure out accessible ways to learn it, you kind of start realizing math's pretty fucking lit. Aside from having to learn a bunch of math and stuff for this video, one thing I did kind of appreciate about learning about the quantum realm is that learning about space, about the big stuff, about black holes, about quasars, about nebulas, galaxies, sometimes it makes you feel really small, which can be anxiety inducing because we are very small in terms of the cosmos. However, one thing I've really discovered in researching the micro instead of the macro is that we are so big. The atoms that we're made of are so small. In our guts, we have bacteria going about living their lives. And who knows, maybe if we were able to look small enough, we'd see inside them they have little microbacteria that are living their lives. We look up at the stars and we think about the universe being so big, us being so small. But if we were to look inside ourselves, we'd realize that we're also infinite. It's interesting to think that maybe what we consider infinite also finds itself infinitesimal. There's no doubt about it. We are in this universe, and because we're in it, we're a part of it. And same with the bacteria inside of us, the bacteria inside them, forever and ever. We're all in the universe, therefore we're just the universe experiencing ourselves. And that's pretty cool. I'm not a religious guy, but I find that very spiritual. That was episode 2 of Highence, talking about quantum entanglement. That was even more intense than the first one. This video is not that long, but if you could see it unedited, it's long. It's very long. Oh, I need to rest my brain. Like, I explained it to you, but it still doesn't make sense to me. But it still does. But it does. But it doesn't. But it does. If it doesn't, I gotta go to bed.